Hello and welcome back to the DoneDeal YouTube channel. My name's David OC and today we're making the most of the beautiful sunshine and we're out reviewing the Peugeot 2008. Now this is quite a populated segment of the market. It's actually got dozens and dozens of cars, the Opel Mokka, the T-Cross, then of course there's the Skoda Kamiq, the Ford Puma, the Renault Captur, the Hyundai Kona. We could go on and on. So it is going to be an exciting one to review, and if you're actually buying one, it's also going to be an exciting one to look into, test drive all the different models and see which one suits you the most. Now if you'd like to search for cars, or let's say small crossover SUVs, then hit the link up there and we'll get straight into this review. The starting price for the 2008 is just over 25,000 euros. However, it does of course matter what spec you get. So in Ireland, we've got three options. We've got the Active, the Allure, which this one is, and then we've got the GT. Now, these come with various different things that we'll talk about throughout the rest of the review. However, what I will say is this particular one is about 28,000 euros, and the reason it's a little bit more than the initial 25,000 is because it has the Allure spec, but on top of that, it also has a slightly more tuned up 1.2 litre engine that puts out 130 brake horsepower. Now, the interior, and I have to say, this is actually the first time I've sat into a Peugeot in a couple of years, and I'm going to be honest, it is very nice. I was honestly astonished when I collected this car. So the whole fit out and layout is really, really nice. The finish, it all feels really, really premium. The seats are comfortable, push start, so I'm going to turn it on. And actually one big thing about this car is the AC is amazing, and that might seem a bit silly. However, I've driven lots of cars. Things like Teslas have really disappointing air conditioning systems. They don't really heat you up in the winter and they don't really cool you down in the summer. Get a good old trusty Peugeot though and you are laughing. In terms of storage, well, there's loads of room. So there's drink holders here, there's storage for a baguette down there, you'll get a croissant in here, you'll even fit a pan au chocolat in there, and then if you have any actual items you can fit them in there. Glove box isn't massive and there's this kind of weird divider, but other than that it's very, very functional. The seat is really, really comfortable. You can get it into any position you like, and the steering wheel is completely adjustable, which is vital because there's a thing called the iCockpit in all modern Peugeots, and this steering wheel, for example, I think it's stunning. However, this iCockpit thing is effectively where you can see the digital display over the steering wheel. However, I found it really difficult to get into the right position. I found myself looking that way or moving the steering wheel and trying to look through it and really actually finding it very weird. That said, I love the small steering wheel. You just feel like you can throw it around. The steering is really, really light. It's completely electronically assisted, but it is absolutely stunning. This digital display, I want to talk about that a bit more later because it's very, very cool. It's got this 3D effect. And then over here, you've got the smaller screen. You can upgrade that. You don't need to. It's got all your usual phone connectivity. It's fairly intuitive. One drawback I'd say is that all your climate control is kind of activated through there, so it does take your eye off the road. That said, there's some lovely shortcuts here and they're kind of like these cool toggles. So when I click that, it will open up the air conditioning and then I can adjust it here however I like. And you've got a really nice knob. In fact, this knob, pretty premium if you ask me. So overall, the finish in here is lovely. You've got your usual USB charging points, USB-C charging points. I like having both of them. Big respect for you on that, Peugeot. And yeah, it's a nice place to be. I mean, it's not as nice as Paris on a sunny day, but we'll take it in the Dublin Mountains. Rear space and practicality. Let's begin by those really, 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 really small rear passengers. Babies, if you will. So their little chair thing, the baby seat, it will go in pretty easily because the door opens nice and wide. However, this does kind of slope across, making it a little bit tighter. But the ISOFIX points are super easily accessible right there. It's nice and it's on a zip, which I'm a big fan of. In fact, something like an Audi, you get this clip and you'll end up losing it. So big fan of that. Now, bigger passengers like myself, well, good knee room, decent headroom, I can't complain. There's a bit of a coat hanger or a grab-on handle here in case your driver is an absolute lunatic. And you've got a bit of storage here and 2 USB charging points. That's key. If you've got kids, you're going on a long journey, you want them to be able to keep their iPad or their phone or whatever gizmo they're playing with charged, because that way they won't be as annoying. But overall in here, it's really nice. So let's check out the boot. Boot space. Now, if you're buying a car for a family, you've got some toddlers and you are actually getting some sort of SUV, boot space is quite key. And the good news in here is you've 434 litres. Now, don't really like that measurement because unless you've got a load of milk, it's really hard to describe. But long story short, it's bigger than a T-Cross and it's bigger than a Nissan Juke, but it's not as big as something like a Ford Puma. However, it is very functional. I really like the premium feel of that metal. And watch this, you know when you're storing things under here that keeps popping down? Not in the 2K8, it stays up, which I really like. And it gets one better because under here, you have a space saver spare wheel, which I really like. Now I know if you upgrade the sound system, you'll lose that spare wheel, but it's great to have it there, as if you break down on the side of the road late at night, you're not going to be stuck. The rear seats do fold down a 60-40 split. However, you've got to walk the whole way around to the side to pull them down. I know it's not a massive deal, but it is just one extra thing you've got to deal with. Whereas in a lot of other cars, there is just a lever that you can pull there and they'll just fold right down. Okay, how does the 2008 drive? Well, first of all, the steering wheel. Feels like I'm in an F1 car. Pop it into first, electric handbrake down, and off we set. That could have been embarrassing if I'd stalled, but I didn't. So, as you're driving along, it is really nice, but then again, what new car isn't nice to drive? Now let's talk about the different engines. So, it is available in a 1.5 diesel. To be honest, you probably don't need it. The petrol versions are going to be economical enough. And the petrol versions, it's actually only one engine. It's a 1.2 litre, 3-cylinder engine, but it's available with 3 different power outputs. So the basic one on the active and the Allure, unless you upgrade, is 100 brake horsepower. Then there's this, which is 130 horsepower, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's got loads and loads of poke. Then, if you're feeling very extravagant, you can get the GT line and spec 155 brake horsepower, 150 brake horsepower engine, which I can only imagine has loads and loads of powers, because this one has really impressed me. Then in terms of the gearbox, it's really nice. It's probably not as smooth as something like the Ford Puma's gearbox, but it completely suffices. In terms of the clutch and the pedals, they all feel very light and easy to use. Again, anyone can get in and out of this car and drive it. And as a whole, it is very easy to drive. Now this one's fitted with active lane keep assist, or lane warning departure, I suppose is probably a more appropriate word. So when you leave the lane, it kind of almost just shouts at you ever so slightly, but it's nothing like the Opel Mokka. The Opel Mokka was very tough if you left the lane, whereas this, you can just switch it off nice and easily and off you go. As a whole, to drive the 2008, it's an absolute pleasure. It does roll ever so slightly in corners, but that's the trade-off of having really soft suspension. And it's just a lovely place to be. It's got parking sensors, reversing cameras, cruise control, lane departure warning. It's just absolutely a pleasure to drive. And what you didn't see on camera there was the goat on the side of the road that I thought was going to jump at me. But as a whole, I have to say I'm very impressed with this, and as Peugeots go, they've really upgraded it from a driver's point of view. Just like every DoneDeal review, we like to discuss some of our favourite and least favourite things about the car reviewing. So let's begin with the latter, our least favourite. And actually I only really have 2 bones to pick with. And the first is that this orange colour is the only free colour that comes with the car. And after that, you got to spend a couple €100 to spec it to white or whatever other colour you desire. My second bone to pick with it is the cruise control. Now, effectively, the cruise control is here, but it's directly blocked from this kind of panel on the steering wheel. So unless I'm on a left-hand corner or I move my head around here, I can't actually see how to set the cruise control. Now, I will admit, after owning the car for a couple of months, you'll know exactly where it is and it'll be easy. But when you step into it for the first time, it is a bit hazardous. Now, it's not all bad. In fact, a lot of it is really, really good. And overall, I'm a big fan of the styling. For example, this panel here really reminds me of the new Hyundai Tucson. Then if you look at the rear lights and the front lights, there's almost a bit of a nod to the Peugeot line badge with the 3 kind of scratch marks. So overall, I think the design looks really good. Before I get into number 2, take a look at these exhausts. They're real, but number 2 is actually more about practicality. So you've got this parcel shelf here. Now that's great for hiding things that are in the boot. But let's say you need to stack some taller items. Where do you put this? Well, luckily, it fits in there nice and easily. So no problems there. And it's got really close. And last but not least, on my favorite things about the 2008 is the digital cockpit. So I mentioned earlier it's got this 3D effect. Long story short, when you play around with it here and you change your bits of information, it's almost got 2 layers, one a little bit further back, one a little bit closer, and it's really cool. It's a bit of a party piece. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. I think anyone who steps into this car is going to go, pretty nice. So where does the 2008 sit in a segment that is potentially overpopulated? Well, I don't know. I think that's up for interpretation. Personally, I think the interior of the 2008 is extremely impressive, but it's maybe not as consistent as something like a Seat Ateca, but is consistent what you want. I don't know. Let us know in the comments below what you choose in this segment. But what I will say is Peugeots have come leaps and bounds. I will openly admit this is the first new Peugeot I've been in a couple of years, and I am impressed. It's been absolutely glorious to drive. It's very easy to live with, and I really think that little 1.2 litre 3-cylinder engine is a bit of a gem. So hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to search for Peugeots for sale in Ireland from over 1,000 trusted dealers nationwide, hit the link up there. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.